Welcome to the SoDak16 preview, formerly known as the Sweet 16 or the Round of 16, but we're down to 16 teams, and this is all about Class A. I'm Jason Andera, Midco Sports Network. This is Darren Tipton of Adrenaline Fundraising, who follows volleyball up and down. And Darren, first of all, let's talk about this class. Class A volleyball. A lot of talent in this class.
There is. We talked at the beginning of the year about this was a class that lost such a talented senior class last year. Not sure, there would be new names, new teams stepping up, and they have. Where would Sioux Falls Christian be after losing talented senior class, right? Would teams that had talented, lower classes like Miller, would they continue to progress and step up? And we've seen that along with a team like MCCOOK Central Montrose that is still technically young, right, stepping up. This class has been very balanced, for the most part, but Sioux Falls Christian still very talented. They just reloaded. They didn't rebuild.
Right. They actually get the number 3 seed in this tournament, even though they were ranked number 1 throughout the year in the media poll. Let's go through these 8 games. They are all on Tuesday night. We'll start with the number 1 seeded Miller Rustlers. They have a couple stars on their team, don't they, Darren?
Yeah, first of all, Miller made it to the state tournament last year. They're led by Katie Fernholtz and then Montague Schlechter. Both names are future 40 this summer. Fernholtz probably top player in the state, if not one of the top players in the state. Schlecter's had a really solid year. Maybe not talked about near as much. Whenever your team with a 27-2 record, top of the rankings all year, you're going to have a lot of key pieces. Josie Stevens has had a solid month defensively for the Rustlers the last month. Rachel Oligmuller, their setter, also a junior. This is a team, right, that made it as a lot of sophomores last year combined with a mix of sophomores and seniors. The sophomores now are juniors, okay, again, with a sprinkle of seniors. Very good class. What we talked about with Miller, probably the big thing for them this year was the win over Northwestern. Not to mention how tough it is to beat Northwestern. Being down in the 5th set the way they were, we talked at the beginning of the year, could Miller get that signature win, something to get them over the hump, and I think that really was. They started the year with a loss to winner, very first match right out of the gate, and then, won games they probably should have, won matches they probably should have. They got a revenge on winner later in the year. But that win over Northwestern, I think, did a ton for them. And, they finished 7th last year. I think they were really disappointed in their state tournament performance, and their motto all year has been unfinished business. And for the most part, they've really handled that business pretty well. All
right, they take on a Chamberlain team, which you don't hear a lot about the Chamberlain Cubs. They came in a little bit under the radar with a sub-500 record, but they made it this far.
Right, led by Hannah Anderson. This is on because it's actually would have been, I believe, a district matchup in the old formula, but 13-16 record. Probably top win on the season was over Platte Geddes. They were swept by Miller twice during the season. Going to be a tough task for them, but Mackenzie Sorensen, another name, to watch for the Cubs.
All right, that's the first matchup, the 116. How about the 215? MCCOOK Central Montrose. You talked about them a little bit already. Let's talk about MCCOOK Central Montrose.
A team last year made the state tournament. That was the first time in the co-op history that they made the state tournament, so they come back with experience. Most wins in school history this year. Talented team. Kenna Kranz and Aaliyah Reese, who are their top players, and Kenna Kranz, one of the top players in the state again, doesn't probably get mentioned a ton. Some other names really to follow, though, with MCCOOK Central Montrose is Abigail Van Ruler, J.C. Pulse, and then Emily Beese, also Morgan Erickson. So talented crew, and the thing about this crew is they're still young. A ton of their team underclassmen, but they have that experience being in the state tournament this year. And look at some of their wins. You beat Chester, you beat Parker, you're a talented team.
All right, and they take on number 15, Dakota Valley, a team that made it all the way to the finals last year, but they're a very different team this year, but still maybe a little under the radar themselves.
Yeah, we don't know a ton about, Dakota Valley. They play about half their matches versus out-of-state teams. Haven't seen them a ton. Struggle a little bit this year in the DAC-12 conference, the best, conference overall in Class A. 19-14 record. Runner-up last year, state champions the year before that. But, they're led by Allie Beersford, who many would consider the top setter in the state, an underclassman. And she was the key cog from last year's team to help them transition. She's had another solid year. Rachel Rosenquist, again, another name, but Dakota Valley, a little bit of a rebuild this year, and didn't have the wins they'd had in the past in conference play. Not that that's a slight, because it's a very tough conference.
Exactly.
Tough conference to rebuild in and come in with a brand new lineup. And they struggled a little bit this year, and thus their record.
But
and
as a 15 seed, that's kind of a dangerous 15 seed. Right. Let's move on to the 3-14 matchup. Sioux Falls Christian. This is a team that has been outstanding over the last couple of years. And right after their qualifying game into the SoDak16, we talked to Darcy Wassener about her team.
I think really they're playing well together, and they're having a lot. I think the girls are hitting well right now this part of the year, which helps. We've had a big stretch of practice here before this game, and I thought the girls really used that to get better and came out ready to go tonight. And so, yeah, I would say the girls are playing really well, and we want to keep working hard and just really fine-tune every part of the game.
So a little misleading. They've lost a few games, but they've played a lot of good out-of-state teams.
Yeah, and they just went to 5 sets with O'Gorman, one of the top seeds, top teams in AA. This is a solid team. They're obviously well coached. They play a ton of volleyball. They're experienced. They have postseason experience. They have all of that, led by Kylie Van Egdom. Again, you talked about her and Fernholz really been in a battle for Class A Player of the Year, but could also be, State Player of the Year. Just a real solid leader. Samantha Feikstra, again, senior setter. Great to have experience at that position, but some of the names that will be the next names to look for Sioux Falls Christian: Caitlin Pruis, junior middle hitter; Abby Glanz, I really like her, sophomore, 6 rotation player; and then Jamaica Kalkoven, their junior libero. So they have that mix, but they're led by Van Egdom and Feikstra. Just a real solid team that plays hard, doesn't make mistakes, and they're also very powerful in the front line. So, yeah, the 3 seed, but don't let the 4 losses fool you. They all came against very, very quality opponents. All
right, Sioux Falls Christian, definitely one of the favorites. They take on a number 14 seed, the HAMLIN Chargers, in the Battle of the Chargers. Right. What do we have about HAMLIN?
HAMLIN is, looking to make their first trip back to the state tournament since 2003. Young team, junior dominated. Maybe a team we'll be talking more about next year. But, Bryn Elfson, junior middle hitter. Logan Kessler, junior setter. Their top players. Other names to watch: Ashton Abraham is a sophomore outside hitter, and then Kaylee Wadsworth, sophomore setter. So, talk about their top players, all of them juniors and sophomores. Going to be a tough matchup for HAMLIN, but a team that's definitely on the rise, and it's their first trip to the round of 16, to the SoDak16. So big step for HAMLIN volleyball this year, and just happened to run up to against a pretty tough opponent in Sioux Falls Christian.
Tough draw. Number 4 and number 13, we've got Winner, a team that has really peaked this year, but had some unfortunate news with a tough injury.
Yeah, Alexis Ritchie got injured in the Miller game, the Miller rematch midway through the year. They're undefeated up until that point, and made it to the round of 16 last year, got knocked off. They've been on a mission to make it back, but this is a team that really kept rolling after the Ritchie injury. And Morgan Hammerbeck is one of the top players in the state. Maybe it's given her a chance to shine a little bit more since the injury, but these guys kept going. Lost that match to Miller. Ended up losing to Wagner and Burke, I believe, in their conference, the SESD tournament, but have continued to roll 3-0 in the region match. Maggie Lecomte, sophomore, who I believe stepped in to fill the DS role, vacated when Ritchie was injured, and then Gracie Letau, senior, to go with this crew. Athletic team, they play hard, they're on a mission. Yeah, they had the unfortunate injury, but they've just kept rolling, and this is a solid volleyball team.
All right, well, this year in the round of 16, they match up with Pine Ridge to try to make it into the state tournament. What do we know about Pine Ridge?
We don't know a lot about Pine Ridge. Coming with a 22-6 record. Again, this is a familiar opponent for Winter, and would be in the same district, I believe, in the old setup. Wins over Custer and Lee, Deadwood, West River, and then the losses to Kadoka, Hill City, Douglas. So not the same type of schedule. This is going to be a tough matchup for Pine Ridge to advance. Past winter, solid team.
All right, the old 5-12 matchup. We've got some familiar opponents who've played each other through the regular season. St. Thomas More taking on Rapid City Christian. Let's talk about the Cavaliers first.
Yeah, great team. Probably the top team was River Class A. They've won 15 in a row. New school record for wins at 31, tops of school history. They've knocked off a team from Cheyenne. They've knocked off previous power team Belfouche 3 times this year. They've also defeated Rapid City Christian 3 times. Odd matchup here where they've met 4 times this year.
They did lose the one time,
yeah. They did lose, but they matched up 4 times. Alex Cannellan, Sierra Benson, outside hitters. Coach Benson talks about their game comes from the outsides, and those are their 2 leaders. Skylar Sullivan, junior libero, Haley Timmer, sophomore middle hitter, and Marin Duffy, a freshman who plays all the way around the court. Again, we're mentioning a lot of younger players, so 31 wins on the year, and this is a very underclassmen-laden team, so future's definitely bright for St. Thomas More, but they expect to win now and make the state tournament this year.
And like you said, they play Rapid City Christian, an up-and-coming team now that is put together a few years in a row of 20-win seasons now.
Yeah, they're solid. They've knocked off St. Thomas More during the year. They've knocked off Belfouche. Hill City was another one of the top teams out in the Black Hills. They've defeated them and got by them to advance to this state. They were the 3 seed, Hill City 2. Olivia Kiefer, just an 8th grader. Tori Allsteele, and then Kayla Cluey, their top players. Rebecca Morgan, Riley Freeland, role players that will need to play well in this rematch. But talk about this familiarity. This is the 5th time they faced each other, and it's in Rapid City, so that'll be a good matchup.
That's nice for them. The 6-11 matchup, Elk Point Jefferson takes on DELL Rapids. Elk Point Jefferson, the higher-seeded team here. What do they bring to the table?
So, first of all, runner-up in the DAC-12 conference. We've talked about how good that conference is. Last state appearance, 2011. They're led by Carly Corder, junior middle hitter, also a member of the Future 40, and then Carly Marks. Megan Brewster, Allie Neerman, some other names, to go with them, and then Caitlin Chitka. Their role players as well, but this is a solid team and a team that played with Sioux Falls Christian, as well, not better than any South Dakota school has this year. So they play a difficult schedule, and this is a team that was in the rankings all year long, really overshadowed at the beginning of the year.
And they go up against DELL Rapids, a team that had been in the top 5 most of the season. Their head coach, Jessica Allers, talked to us after their qualifying game into the SoDak16.
We haven't really talked about it all that much, actually, because my philosophy is just focus on the game that we have, and once that gets taken care of, then go on from there. And I know the girls are really excited, and we're going to prepare, and we're going to come in and just try our hardest, and hopefully we can make it to state.
I'm excited. Last year we made it, and we were 1 point away, and this year we're gonna hopefully get it.
That was Jada Canupi at the end there. So this DELL Rapids team, they've been up and they've been down a little bit. What do we know about the Couriers?
Yeah, first of all, they talked about it being so close last year. Definitely been a mission for them to get over that hump and get to the state tournament. Jess does a great job with this program, trying to turn it into a volleyball program, right? DELL Rapids always been known as more a basketball school. They're trying to get on the map volleyball-wise. This is a really close team. They play well together at Canupi, and then Hannah Fletcher, their senior setter, probably their leaders, but a really balanced team, right? And they're probably going to need one of those teams that needs a couple people to step up and elevate their game to get, as competition gets more difficult with EPJ. In that DAC-12, again, tough season. They were so close last year, been on a mission type team. I really like this team, but they have had some ups and downs this year and trying to figure things out, and but knocking off Tri-Valley the way they did in the regions was impressive.
Gotta give them some confidence, yeah.
Yeah, and 3-0 and quite convincing, and see if they continue that over tomorrow night.
All right, 2 more matchups to talk about. Let's talk about Parker taking on Madison, the 7-10 matchup. 2 teams definitely trending in the right direction.
Right. Parker has made state tournament 8 of the last 9 years under Jill Christensen, state's all-time winningest coach. They have a program. They're used to this. Coach had made the comment that they've kind of flown under the radar this year, right? People haven't talked about them as much as they have. Come in with a very solid record, again, solid schedule, but they're led by, they are definitely led by Grace Lieberman and Carly Peterson and Rayleigh Juergens are three of their seniors, an experienced class. Hannah Even, their setter, and Logan Gusson, a couple of their front row players that also, go with Lieberman and then Raylin. And this is a team that has experience, came up just short last year. We're going to get back to that state tournament, and they're a veteran group. And
a lot of seniors, yeah.
Yeah, and the nice thing is, I think of their comments they hear, they maybe do feel like it was slighted. They should have been, ranked a little higher, a little more attention, and that can play a real positive role as far as motivation-wise when it comes to postseason games.
Well, Parker is definitely ready for this. They take on a Madison team who's been, flirting with an elite team, but now a very young team this year.
Yeah, and they had that run, that great senior class that left last year. And the nice thing that Jill, Coach Cradaville is doing is she's building a program at Madison now where, they lost a ton, but they're replacing their entire starting lineup, right? They had an injury this summer, lost another key player. So they did a lot of scrambling. So maybe earlier in the year, they were trying to figure out their lineup.
Yeah.
And they've got that figured out, a little bit more of a role, playing a little bit more consistently. Again, we talked about Act 12, that it's a tough place to play a brand new lineup and win early. So they've been getting better and better and better, and they've broke in some really inexperienced girls who now have played together for a full season at the varsity level.
Yeah, and Jill Cradaville is one of those coaches we caught up with after her qualifying game into the SoDak16 as well.
We need to work on communicating and just eliminating the errors on our side. When we play a lot of the teams that are competing at the state level, they don't make too many mistakes, and we're still making quite a few errors. We're young, and which is to be expected when you're a younger team to make some errors, and so we just need to eliminate those and just work more together.
Well, there they are. 6 new starters on this team, Darren.
Yeah. They're led by Grace Nelson and Maddie Gary, a couple other names we're going to need to know coming up, Sophia Vandenbosch and then Kendra Lighton. The nice thing about that is, yes, they are replacing everybody. Yes, they're going against a lot of teams with a lot of experience, very solid. But the thing that I know, if you go Coach Cradaville, she is all about competing, and she's taught this team how to compete. They won't use any of those things as an excuse Tuesday night. They have a goal on making the state tournament, and they will show up.
All right, one last game to talk about. We've got Groton area and Aberdeen Roncalli, and even before we went to the 16 format where everything gets reshuffled, these two have played for a lot of chances to go to state.
Yeah, this is one of the better rivalries in the state, and everybody in the northeast part of the state knows that. We talked about Groton. They're looking at making their first state tournament in school history. Right. That's always a big deal. They've been one game away the last 5 years. Have played a very solid Class A schedule. Names to know: Peyton Main, one of the top liberos in the state. Jenny Doden, another senior force. Some of their younger key pieces that have come along throughout the year, Nicole Marzon, Eliza Warner, and then Kaylin Cooker, they are going to need to have a solid match against Roncalli. These two teams played earlier in the year, and Roncalli swept Groton area in Groton 3-0, and quite honest, that was not a highlight of the season for Groton. It was very convincing win, for Roncalli, who comes in, 20-6 record, and again, they've knocked off Madison, they've knocked off Groton. Megan Streer and Mariah Winigar, a couple of their top players, Jamie Ewart and Madeline Martin, some of their role players to go with them. But a building team as well that has been at or near the top of that. These two battle it out for the number 1 seed all year, right? With Groton edging them out, by fractions of a point, I believe.
Yeah,
and now
less than 100. Oh, or, yeah, 0.073, whatever that is.
Yeah, it was very close this year. But Roncalli won this matchup, and I was able to watch that online and was very impressed by Roncalli, but was not impressed by Groton, and I know they will be using that as motivation. They know how much better they need to play, and quite honestly, we're probably pretty disappointed with that effort earlier. But not to mention, this is a rivalry. Okay? Yeah. So this in September would be a great match, let alone to advance to the state tournament.
yeah.
And Groton playing to get there for the first time just means there's even more riding on this game.
Crazy atmosphere coming at you on Tuesday night in Aberdeen. Let's go through some of your picks here for Class A. Miller, Chamberlain, I think pretty much everybody's picking Miller here.
Yeah, I think Miller, advances in this one. The thing that's key that I'll be watching for is do they come out right away, they take care of business right away, every set 3-0, and show that they're focused heading into state.
All right, MCM takes on Dakota Valley, one of the tougher 15 seeds I remember, but still a rebuilding team.
Yeah, it is. And it's a different Dakota Valley team than we've seen. A lot of these girls, it's going to be their first experience in state tournament. MCCOOK Central, not to say they're coming back the much more experienced team out of these two. They've had a solid year and they're a solid team and will continue to be not only this year but next year. I think MCCOOK Central Montrose advances.
All right, Sioux Falls Christian against Hamlin, two-time defending champs coming in. That's a tough draw for Hamlin.
It is. Tough draw for Hamlin. I just wanted to get the experience at this level, but Sioux Falls Christian is solid.
Really
they don't help you out, and they're talented. I think they advance and look to defend their state title.
Winner got to this point last year. They're trying to break in one more level. They take on Pine Ridge.
Yeah, Winner advances. Winner will advance in this. They have been on a mission, felt very disappointed last year that they didn't make it, have overcome some obstacles, and they're a solid team that plays hard. Winner wins.
And once again, we've got a St. Thomas More Rapid City Christian matchup. What do we see here?
I think this matchup will be closer than a lot of people think. I would not be surprised to see it go 4 for sure, if not 5. Because of the familiarity, there will be nothing new about these teams, but Thomas More, I just think, has a more talented team right now.
Pretty athletic.
Yeah, and they're playing for something, school record to continue with most wins in the season, a state tournament berth. So I think St. Thomas More advances here.
All right, EPJ and Dell Rapids, two teams that know each other.
Yeah, and this is tough. I know Dell Rapids was so close this year. The quarter factor, are they so good in that front row? Dell Rapids a little bit more up and down. Difficult pick for me, but I think Elk Point Jefferson will advance.
All right, Parker and Madison. These last two games to me are kind of coin flips, but what do you think in this one?
We talk about back and forth, and I think even over the weekend I switched my opinion a couple times. Madison's new, they compete. I'm going to pick Parker advancing here, higher seed, more veteran team. I just think the senior experience, but two great coaches, two up-and-coming programs. This would be a great match to go watch to advance. This has a state tournament game or a state tournament match feel to it.
You bet it does.
Yeah, but I think Parker wins in the end.
All right, Groton and RONCALLI. RONCALLI got the best of them last time. Do they do it again?
I think and worked with Groton a couple times and being around them now for a couple years, seeing them this summer and what they have. This is a senior class, and they're trying to do something, make first time in school history. That's a big deal, right? I know Coach Hansen is a competitor. They couldn't have felt good after the regular season loss. I just think they clean things up. They're more focused. They haven't had that signature win. This would be it, but I think it goes 5 this time, and just the higher seed, I'm going to take Groton to advance their first tournament in school history.
All right, there's Darren Tipton's picks, and we're going to be watching how this season develops all the way to the championship games with highlights and reaction on Midco Sports Network. And of course, Darren does a great job covering these guys too and watching all the games. Looking forward to a fun Class A tournament.
Yeah, next couple of weeks are going to be great.
It is. All right, we'll see you next time.